Bradford in West Yorkshire, home to one of the largest Muslim communities in England. Bradford is also home to Challenge College, an 11 to 18 secondary school with 1,000 pupils, 83% of whom are Muslim. Azam Ali has been an RE teacher here for 7 years. Teaching RE can often be a minefield, particularly for non-specialist teachers. Thanks to today's politically correct climate and distorted media reports, there's often confusion about whether aspects of certain subjects are controversial or offensive, particularly towards Muslim students. This programme will follow Azam as he teaches about Buddhism. Firstly, as he asks Muslim students to put themselves in a Buddhist monk's shoes, and secondly, as he asks his students to create a poster featuring Buddhist images.
I feel that sometimes there may be a little bit of sensitivity towards Islam in schools, especially in teaching Islam or tackling some of the issues surrounding Islam. And I think one of the key reasons for that is because there's so many negative images in the media about Islam. I strongly believe that sensitivity is overblown, and I feel it should be tackled, as opposed to sort of not be willing to talk about perhaps an extreme issue such as terrorism and not bring it in class with the fear of alienating a student.
It is hard to imagine yourself as another religion because you know your religion well, so then to think about other religions is quite hard.
It's like I've learned so much about my religion. I don't know if it's possible learning about a different religion.
One thing some teachers may be worried about is asking Muslim students to put themselves inside another religion. But objectivity is a necessary part of RE, so how can it be handled sensitively?
Right, okay. What we're going to do this lesson is we're going to look at a very important method in RE. It's all to do with this circle. Hopefully, one of you is going to volunteer to do a very, very special thing for me. But first of all, I'm going to put this hoop just in the middle of the room there, and I'm going to ask for a volunteer, a very brave person. Sufyan, how about you? Come on. Let's get you into the centre there. RE teachers face many challenges teaching RE full stop, but with regard to Muslim students, I suppose it's getting them to think outside the box. Allowing them to be objective, and that can be quite difficult. Sometimes they may be a little bit reluctant to step outside of being Muslim and compare and contrast with other viewpoints. Right, Sufyan's in the centre of his circle. We're going to ask Sufyan questions about what it's like to be where he is, okay? So anybody can ask Sufyan any questions they like to do with his circle.
What's it like in the circle? Kind of stuffed.
Stuffed? It's small?
Yeah.
Okay, you need more room. Okay, so, right, okay.
Do you feel safe in that circle?
Yeah, kind of.
What do you gain by standing in the circle?
I don't know, certain to stand in it.
Can you do any activities?
Yeah, I could dance.
Will you dance for us?
No.
One of the first things I try to do as an RE teacher is I try to get students to stand inside the circle, to think, what would it be like to be a Buddhist? Well, if you put yourself in a Buddhist's shoes, how would you feel? And getting that subjectivity is essential. So the lesson on standing inside a circle and then being objective and being able to see the whole picture as well, and perhaps even evaluate and be critical on the outside of a circle is a very important skill, and it takes a long time to get students to fully grasp that, and I think it's a good way to engage them because you involve them in the process. Today we're going to look at Buddhist monks. Our objectives are going to be what is life like in a monastery and why is it important to live such a lifestyle. We're going to apply our circle thinking to this lesson. Okay, so that's the first thing. We have to look at what we're studying from the inside, and then we look at what we're studying from the outside. We can see what can we learn from this religion. So if we're studying Buddhism or Christianity or Judaism, we can stand on the outside and we can say, well, what can we learn from this? And that's very, very difficult, to put yourself into the shoes of another person just by reading about it or learning about a different religion. It's not easy to just put yourself into another person's shoes. But we have to try and do that. And to get you to do that, we're going to do a little role play where one of you is going to be the Buddhist monk and the other person is going to be a journalist who's going to interview the Buddhist monk and ask lots of interesting questions. You all had lots of questions for Sophia. How do you feel about being inside the circle? Do you feel restricted? Can you dance? Okay, we had lots of interesting questions. Okay, but you can apply, from the outside, you can apply your questions. Any comments that you might have. With RE, it's important to get what we think. You are allowed to disagree. You're allowed to say, well, I don't think that's true. You're allowed to do that. But there is a golden rule. And the golden rule is always respect the right that others may hold beliefs that may be different to yours. So it's a fine line. You have to balance being critical with being aware that that other viewpoint, they're entitled to that viewpoint. It's really important that we get students to understand that by being objective, they're not attacking their own faith. They're just having a look at another point of view, and they're applying that point of view.
And how do you feel about other religions?
I believe that every religion has a purpose, therefore none can be wrong.
Probably the easiest way to get around it is to explain to them that actually some of the greatest and most pious Islamic scholars were well aware of different points of view, and they were able to entertain them, and they were able to come back with their own argument, and it made their own faith stronger. RE is about education, it's not religious instruction. We're not here to preach, we're here to teach. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to give an opportunity for you to listen to some other groups and just let's see how they got on with this. So where shall I start? Oh, choices, too many choices. Well, girls at the back here, how about we start here? Get your area here. Off you go.
Do you like being a Buddhist monk and why?
Yes, because I lead a very simple life and it is peaceful and quiet.
Do you get lonely?
Yes, I do, but because I'm so devoted to my religion, it doesn't really matter.
Do you have a name?
My name is Tanan.
Well, Tanan, what is the first thing you do in the morning?
The first thing I do is wash my face and hands. Then I go out into the town and get food from the town people.
How do you feel whilst you're meditating?
Well, when I'm meditating, I feel very peaceful, devoted and really happy with myself.
Is your daily routine hard to keep?
It is at first, but you just have to make it a habit and make it like an everyday life thing.
What does it feel like having no money?
Money isn't everything. I have everything I need.
Do you miss the female company?
I never really had any female company, therefore I can't miss it.
Do you feel guilty taking food from the other people?
No, because when they give me food, I help them help their karma, so they are helping themselves as well as me.
Have you ever killed an animal?
Unfortunately, yes.
Was it by accident?
Yes, I felt devastated. It was a cricket.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate here. The majority of our students don't have an issue with learning about other faiths. However, occasionally you may get one or two students who do ask, why is it that they can't just learn about Islam? It doesn't happen very often, but for those students who do say that, we do remind them that Islam is all about racial harmony, social harmony, learning about other faiths, learning about other ideas and cultures. And also education is very important in Islam. It's important to educate yourself from the cradle to the grave. So I kind of put Islam back onto them and sort of use that as a reason for why they should be learning about other faiths.
It is important that the teacher realises that there are some things which we can't do as our religion tells us.
If it's joining an idol and they're not idol worshippers, they might find it like offensive and uncomfortable to join.
The next lesson is about symbols on a Buddha and what they say about the religion. It sounds innocuous, but as Am knows, it could lead to problems if not handled carefully.
Today we're going to look at Buddhist images. In particular, we're going to look at the images of the Buddha himself. And your main objective is, what can images of the Buddha tell us about Buddhist beliefs? So you should all have somewhere next to you a little statue of the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. Any unusual features? Anything that you see there that you think slightly unusual. I wanted to get students to have a look at images of the Buddha, but I also wanted them to get some artifacts, statues of the Buddha, and hold them, touch them, and basically get to talk about what those images are and so on. And then I wanted to get them to do something creative, which involved drawing those images. I suppose it's my experience as a Muslim, but more importantly, my experience as someone who studied Islam, that made me aware that might be a sensitivity. In Islam, for example, idol worship is considered to be, a very grave sin, and so idolatry is forbidden in Islam. We're going to create a poster on Buddhist images, and it's going to have to be a bright, attractive, and easy to understand poster. You must describe the symbols that an image of the Buddha may contain, and you need to explain what these symbols tell us about Buddhist beliefs. Now, I suppose the easiest way would be to draw the symbols and write about them. Anybody here have an issue with drawing any of these symbols?
Yeah, because in Islam, you're not really supposed to draw faces, so we're not really allowed to draw a face. So if you draw the Buddha, then obviously we can't do that.
Okay, a really interesting point there, and I think we need to just spend just a moment just making sure that everybody is comfortable with this. With regard to Islam, you're quite right, idolatry is strictly forbidden. For some Muslims, taking pictures or drawing things could be a form of idolatry. Not all Muslims, but some Muslims may believe that. Okay, so if that's your belief, that's not an issue. But I would like to point out that the first statue of the Buddha, images of the Buddha, were not created till maybe about 400 or 500 years after the death of the Buddha. So there wasn't that sort of idol worship traditionally. But also, some Buddhists would be quite offended by the idea that what they're doing is idol worship. Remember, with Buddhism, meditation is very important, and it's important in meditation to have a focus. And a statue of the Buddha is normally a focus for meditation. So Buddhists aren't actually worshipping Siddhartha Gautama, but they have Siddhartha Gautama as a focus to help them with their own goal to achieving enlightenment. So it's not quite idol worship. But if you are uncomfortable with drawing an image of the Buddha, what you can do is instead you can describe the symbols, or you could draw the symbols and describe what they symbolize, but not actually the whole statue of the Buddha. Or you can just, in a creative, colourful way, you can write about the images. Okay? It's very important for us as RE teachers to make sure in our planning that we don't exclude any students because of their faith. And sometimes it's not possible to predict what might come up, but it's important to learn from that and not to go with a lesson because, well, that's how the lesson has been planned, because that would be a bit of a contradiction if you're enforcing this idea of respect for all. So sometimes teacher needs to adapt to any sensitivities that may arise. Can't possibly know everything, either as a teacher or as a Muslim, and I'm speaking as both. But generally speaking, just listen to your students and give them that room to explain themselves.